Good day, people, God's children. All right. I'm Sade of Between Here and There, a Thrive based consulting business surrounding global hygiene and applications of information technology. I hope you miss me because I miss you as well. There have been some things going on in the background, so the show don't stop. I just had to make a detour. Some issues surrounding cybersecurity issues, as well as, excuse me, as well as doppelganger copycat people, which I don't. The world is infinite, people. Infinite. The Most High is infinite. But instead of you creating your own pathway, you decide you won't gonna take somebody else's. It doesn't end well. It never ends well. Okay, never. Um, so with the model that we have for plastic extraction, okay. So there's a few things, and I don't have my notes here, so I'm gonna go through it as best as possible. If you have any specific questions, please drop them below. Email me as well, especially if you're in the same line of work, if you're an engineer, if you're a biologist, chemist, um, microbiologist, bacteriologist, those types of fields. Also GIS. Drop me a line. Let's communicate. Let's connect. I'm also on LinkedIn. Sade Lewis, SAD, accent over the Lewis. Okay. Um, hmm. I got some gold hoops in the picture. I don't think I'm gonna change that picture anytime soon. I think I look good, y'all, so I don't think I'm gonna age too quickly. Probably not at all. But yeah, that'll be what my profile picture looks like. I'll probably drop the link in the description box below so you can just head over there if you need to communicate with me through that avenue. Okay. So plastic waste. Okay. So the first step with plastic waste in our water systems is being able to remove it. Okay. Now, starting first with the individual, you need proper protective equipment. PPE, okay? So I suggest long gloves going up past the elbow. I was gonna say kneecap, past the elbow, but you do need boots that come close to kneecap in case you have to get down in the water and actually remove those things, okay? Also, with PPE, covering the hair, covering the skin, as well as some sort of masking would be good because depending on where you are, you're going to deal with humidity, and humidity is small droplets of water which carry certain chemicals. And so with those chemicals being carried, you don't want to inhale those, and that mask can become a barrier. Since we went through this whole like pandemic, there's a lot of masks on the market. Some are really cheap now because we're in kind of the down season before they make it an issue again. Listen, I don't want to go there. Okay. So wearing a mask, it protects from macro to some micro particles. And so with that heated water, that humidified water, that suspended water that's in the air, with your breathing it in and that oxygen exchange, you can, during that activity of plastic removal, you can use that. I do not suggest that people walk around with masks all day because you end up creating a film inside the mask of your waste, um, your exhale. Your exhale is your waste gases, droplets, saliva, etc. It's the waste that's being removed out. So if you have that masking there, it's stopped, it's a barrier, and so therefore you're inhaling it and breathing it back in. So with plastic waste, I wouldn't do it any longer than about 3 hours, and that's literally kind of the max. And probably you can do it in increments, like somebody's on for 30, extracting it out of a water body, and then they're doing another 30 minutes at the next station. Okay. And so the next station will actually be the cleaning of the plastics, okay? Cleaning and organizing of the plastics, okay? Because there's different types of plastics, which I might have to make that a separate video, because that gets into the hazards of each of the plastics and what those plastics could be reused to make. So let me make a note of that to ensure that I do that for you all. Is this good? Oh, baby. I'll be telling myself don't return a pen or a pencil back if it's not usable. And there I go. So let's see, plastic types. Hazards, use, identification. Okay. So I'll be sure to make that another video, okay? So first station is getting on site, okay? So having a truck, having a wheelbarrow, something to collect large quantities of the plastics is great. So you got your PPE on, you're moving the plastics out of the water body, you're putting it in a wheelbarrow or a truck bed, and you're moving it to another site. Now, I don't so much recommend a truck. Now, a truck probably needs to be used if it's large quantities. However, we need to also be thinking about the exhaust that's coming from that vehicle. How many trips are being made? Is the vehicle running? What avenue is being used to route that vehicle? Or is it going through a path that's already created? Are you creating a new path? Be sure to take these things into account, okay? So remove the plastic from the water body, from the system. And even before that, I've noticed some other models look like a containment or a kind of encapsulment like basin. And so they'll have like either some netting or some netting with some buoys to capture the plastics. Be sure with that you're also taking into the ecological factors. And that's something, let me make a note of that too, to think of the different layers that one must consider when conducting these type of missions. You have to take in account the entire picture. What is the current weather? What is the climate? What is the time of day? Mating seasons. Is it going to be raining? Is it going to be dry? The temperature. You're having people out in the elements. What are you doing for protection? If it thunderstorms, what procedures do you have set in place? And so I guess even before anything is done on site, there needs to be a brief, okay? And so that brief needs to account for, things always, okay, this is where the restrooms are, porta potties, this is how we're maneuvering these things. If I blow a whistle, that's our break. This is where we'll reconvene. Also, if there's a tornado warning, if it's heavy rains, if there's lightning, this is what we're going to do. Something to note about lightning, because this is still happening all over the planet. If lightning occurs, get into a vehicle that has rubber tires. Get into a home that has a functioning plumbing and electrical system, okay? So with the home, plumbing, and electrical system, some of that discharge from lightning can happen because it's trying to balance in between the water system and the electrical system, and so therefore you're in a safer location. Similar thing with lightning when it comes to a vehicle. You have those rubber tires, as well as the construction of a vehicle is like an encasing, okay? Do not stand by a tree. Do not be outside on the ground. Get off. Get off the ground. Get away, because how lightning maneuvers, it's going to find a path of least resistance. And so that sometimes it can travel at an angle underground, and it could be people outside playing a soccer game and get struck and don't even realize it. And the lightning could be coming from, miles away, kilometers away, and strikes the ground and travels through the ground and decides to use you as a grounding pole. We don't want that, okay? Because how lightning looks, and that goes back to how this planet is a sentience. If you look at lightning, it looks like the nerve system of the human body. Okay, and so let's just pull up a picture for so I guess this is a decent one, right? Then you can look at lightning, and this is a very zoomed out portion. And then you have lightning, right? You notice towards that like hip area going into the two legs, it has more of those a similar pattern. Okay, so you want to conduct a brief, whoever's going to be on site, so they know what they're doing, how they're doing it, time frame, and then most importantly for people's time and energy, their compensation. Okay, and so with compensation, if you have people just on site removing waste, you could do a hourly type of mission, type of event. But if you have a setup to where locals are bringing waste plastics into your location, your temporary facility, then you need to do it by weight. Okay, so whatever numbers you work out, think about how the economy's going, what revenue you're going to get from your mission to be able to distribute some of those funds to the people that are doing the legwork. Okay, so my personal idea of that would be to weigh those wastes. Okay, because nobody has time to be counting and figuring out what is what. Quick and easy, they're bringing a bag of waste, already have the scale ready for them, they weigh it, they get a ticket, they go to maybe another station. I don't really suggest money being on site, safety reasons. When you're dealing with money in any type of facility, you always have to think about the extra precautions that you have to take. So you can create a secondary setup that's away from the main mission. That way you're not dealing with that extra headache. Okay, so reimbursing the people. Okay, so you're removing the waste. You have at least 3 separate bins. The first bin is going to remove just particles from the water. So I would say maybe fill up the barrel less than halfway, be able to, with gloves and everything on, dump and clean as best as possible some of the residues, biomaterials that are on the plastics. Then move it over to a second one to a second one where you're using some sort of surfactant that can break the oils down. Okay, so there should be already testing in place before you get to the site to ensure it's not a chemical that's going to harm the people, be explosive, be corrosive, and also not interact negatively to that type of soap that you'll be using to clean the plastics. Okay, so now soap going into a clean barrel, rinsing it off, and hanging it across something where it can dry. From drying, it can be moved into the specific receptacles based on their plastic types. From the plastic types, you can take it to wherever facility that you have these plastics to be processed, okay? And usually the process goes of churning, breaking down the plastics into small pieces, and then it can be composed together to create whatever you're trying to create, a chair, a plank, doorknob, etc. Whatever you're looking to create with those plastics. I suggest something that is not going to be a one for one. Like, I'm not going to create another soda bottle from a soda bottle, because now you just kept it in the same loop. Let's think about things that are going to be more solidified, that really removes these plastics, so we can also start to bring more things in that are sustainable, okay? There was a time we used a lot of glass, especially amber glass, to ensure the product, especially like food and hair and skincare products, stored in amber, so that way the light doesn't penetrate and degrade the material inside. And there's netting that you can put over glass to prevent some breakage. There's also some other sort of like TerraPaks and other food storage and product storages that I've noticed in places like India, to where they have it. They need assistance as well when it comes to their cleanup. However, they are moving towards a more sustainable future by doing the research and figuring out what's going to actually work with the planet. Okay, so I think that was a pretty good rundown on the plastic removal process. So just getting the plastics out of the water system, things to be aware of, the ecology, mating seasons, climate, weather, rainy season, what safety of the people, their proper protective equipment, as well as processing and what that would look like. Okay, so if you have questions about this, please drop me a line. Check out the website betweenhtllc.com. I'm going to give myself till the 2024 Gregorian calendar New Year comes in to generate more information sessions about our water, our air, our soil, and also if you want to cycle other nutrients through the carbon cycle, therefore burning it using fire, what that looks like for the air quality, the soil quality, etc. Because there a lot of times, like, fire is where we need to go head towards when it comes to removing these chemicals. However, it's the residual that we're having issues with, because if you're burning chemical waste, you're going to have an issue. Like mustard gas, it's literally from mustard, and it can harm you. I've stir fried habaneros and didn't have enough oil, so it was like cast iron with the habanero, and it was getting charred, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. No, it'll take you out of here. It'll take you out. So there's certain things we don't want to release into our atmosphere and cause more issues, and I'll instruct you on how to do that properly, how to mitigate the high levels of release of toxic waste back into the environment. So I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad we're doing this together. I'm excited for this entire thing. I'm glad I was able to get over that hump of trying to figure out this doppelganger thing. However, God is much more powerful than all of this. And so therefore, I have to just put my time, energy, trust, faith in that direction. So whoever tries or attempts to sabotage what I have going on for my life, they'll get it times 9 to the 9th power. All right. So, love y'all. Talk to you later. Drop me a line, and I'll see you on the next one.